I'm a big fan of disaster movies and collect them, reveal, but I also enjoy things like finding out about real or natural or human disasters to find out what caused it, what safety could be put in to make things better, how we're making the world safer, and the human toil and trouble that these kind of events entail and involve. So I was very interested when Plane Accident came along. It's a sequel to the game called Accident, which I'd bought a few years ago, which was all about car crashes. This one obviously is all about plane crashes, and you play as an aircraft accident investigator to go and investigate different scenarios of plane crashes to see what caused it, why it happened, and to get to a hypothesis at the end of it. The game is split out into two very distinct parts of gameplay. Part 1 is going to find the actual wreckage on site, and depending on a scenario you'll be approached with either like the immediate aftermath of a plane crash where there'll be survivors that need taking away, fire that needs putting out with an extinguisher, or it might be such as one that's in a desert where you appear quite late on after the plane crash and actually the survivors are decaying and dead and you're just going around marking the territory of the wreckage. Once you've done that, you then start to look for evidence of bits of plane that have flown off somewhere else to try and start to give you some ideas about what may have caused the crash. And then you'll take photos of the wreckage that may be able to help you along your path. Once you've secured all of that, phase 1 is over and you move to phase 2, which is where you go to your warehouse, which lays out the plane in its kind of carcass or fuselage, I guess. And then you'll also have all of the different pieces of evidence that you've picked up. So it might be pieces of plane that broke off, a wheel or a door or a seat, or it might be something to do with the things that the people on board were carrying, for example, that might give you clues for stuff. All of that's laid out. And then inside you'll have the ability to like drill things back together so that you reconstruct the plane. Or it could be that you then send off some stuff for analysis. So you start putting it in boxes and packing it and giving it to the courier. It might be that you receive the black box and you have to tune in the frequencies so that you can then hear the sample of the last few seconds of the plane before it crashes in comedic voiceover fashion. I swear they just went to someone, do your Western American proud or Southern American proud. Because they're like, my plane, it's going to crash. Oh my God. I was like, this is tonally not quite right for this game, but I was amused nonetheless. Anyway, as you go through all of this, what the game does is constantly give you the next step along the way. So whenever you're arriving at a scene, it's like find the plane, secure the wreckage, find the evidence, take the photos, secure the victim, do this, put out the fire. Fine, move to the next thing. Then as you go through that, it's like put the plane together, answer the email, phone the witness, look at the plane log, do this, do that, do the other. And it really guardrails you through every single step of the process to the point where you end up at a deduction board with 3 potential hypotheses, sometimes more, and you'll be deciding which one is the real reason for the plane crash. Each scenario has various different ones, and one of the big things that I'll say about this game is that they are wildly different. Some are technical problems, some are human error. There's one where it's like, did the wife murder him? And it seems extraordinarily plausible as you start going through the entire wreckage and the story of everything involved, which is quite cool. And they do feel different in terms of story. The problem is that Plane Accident plays out almost identically every single scenario. It's just the window dressing is different. And when you then put it into this guardrailed scenario, it kind of led me to this, I'm really enjoying the scenario, but I'm finding the gameplay quite monotonous. And this kind of brings me to the why are you here question, because I think that will really define whether or not you enjoy Plane Accident or not. If you're here because the scenario of investigating plane accidents is the main reason why you're drawn to this game, I think you'll enjoy it and have fun. The planes are varied, you get to look at different scenarios, there's a little bit of minor detective deduction in there. But it's really about like, oh look, the plane has crashed, aren't I enjoying this kind of scenario? If you're coming to this though from a puzzle perspective, I think you'll be really disappointed because it constantly tells you the exact next thing to do, so you never think for yourself. And if you were to take away all of these elements of it constantly telling you the next thing to do, there's no visual clues or any nice way of trying to lightly nudge the player where to go next and what to do next, unless you've already been through the gameplay loop once, in which case you're just rinsing and repeating anyway. And so it's all or nothing and nothing in between, which makes Plain Accident quite difficult to recommend from a puzzle perspective, because I think it would be too hard for some people if it just took away all of the help. But giving all of the help that it gives means that you aren't playing the game. You're just going for a checklist of next thing, next thing, next thing, next thing. And then, I've solved this episode, ta-da. And that's how I felt playing it. I felt like I was just completing the next checklist. I didn't feel like I was solving a mystery or an accident. And that's a miss for me when the game is Plain Accident. I had exactly the same feelings when I played Accident, the developer's previous game, where it was all about car crashes. And I was hoping that things would be expanded a bit when it came to Plain Accident, but it hasn't. Instead, what it's done is it's seemingly increased slightly the amount of busy work that's involved. So when you're going back to building together your planecraft to reconstruct the plane, it's things like, okay, I've got 10 pieces of planecraft that I've got to belt in. I'll go and get the power drill. It needs a new battery. I'll put that in. Then I'll put 3 or 4 things on. It's run out of battery. I'll go and put a new one in. I've put all the plane together. It sent me an email about it. I go to walk into my office. You can't walk into the office with a power drill, health and safety problems. Okay, I'll put the drill back. Now I'll go back in and check the email. The email goes, you'll need to undrill the propeller and send it off for research. Fine, I'll go and get the drill. I'll then have to put the drill down. Then I'll have to pick up the propeller. Then I'll put it in the box. Then I'll run the box to the other side of the warehouse to send it to the courier. That then says, wait until I come back, then pick up the box, and then I'll send you an email. Pick up the box. When it comes back, put it back on the shelf at the other side. Unpack it. Now the email will come. I need to go and put that piece back on my evidence rack. Then I can go in and check the email. And it's that kind of busy work to solve a case that just pads the game in the wrong way for me. And they'll go, each scenario takes half an hour to complete. Yeah, because I'm just running around for 15 minutes of it doing busy work. And so that's my problem with this game, in the way how it's designed to feel busy rather than puzzly, if that makes any sense whatsoever. A couple of other things did my gears slightly too. I found that I got very motion sick with this game, and to be fair, I am quite easily given motion sickness on a first-person game. But I felt like because this was dropping frames, it was giving me a headache much quicker than most other games that I've played in recent years, to be fair. So I really struggled from that perspective, to the point where I had to put it down every 15 minutes and go and walk away and come back. I also found that some of the movement was a little bit annoying too. The jump is really poor in this game. It's more like a hop, which was a shame. And so I did get stuck on environments, and I found it quite awkward to get to some of the places, particularly in the desert level. On the flip side though, the soundtrack is really good. And I could listen to the menu music quite happily for some time. It's got this really cool, feltish piano going on, which just felt ethereal and cool and very NCIS. So yeah, it's a real mixed bag, this one. I hope that's explained who I think would enjoy this game more than others, because this is going to be a Marmite experience for people. And I have to say, I came away disappointed, and whilst I know this is an early access and there's only 5 scenarios so far, and they're looking to put in more and not increase the price, which I think is a good thing, if it's more of the same, I think I'll just be as disappointed. So, yeah, that's my dev feedback if anyone's watching. Less busy work, more thinky, pretty please. For any of you, over on highplanegames.com at a later point. Any comments or questions, leave them down below. Higher Plane Games is part of the Higher Plane Network, a completely independent media outlet supported by people like you. The goal is to create the best possible content that cultivates a richer indie scene for games as well as music and entertainment. To find out more and to get involved, visit patreon.com/Higher Plane Network. Your support makes all the difference, and in return you'll gain access to bonus content and downloads. Thank you for watching.